Hello, it's Friday, November 1st. I hope if you do any Halloween celebrations that you enjoyed them yesterday. I know I sure did. It's one of my favorite times of the year. Okay, and this is my favorite week. So I'm really excited that week 6 you're going to be diving into implementation and you're going to be playing with some of the tools that I have a lot of experience using in my professional career. So timeline wise, the first thing I used in my current position was the standards of practice. So you'll be looking at a standards of practice on Trauma Informed Oregon's website. And I know that they've updated it. So when I was using it, we actually had a scale. We had a 1 to 4 scale of 1 being not used or implemented at all, and 4 being always and really good at implementation, or this is really present. The thing that I liked about the scale, and I know they removed it for various reasons, but as you read those questions, just thinking about the difference between narrative content and a scale, was that it was able for us as an organization to highlight and see as a team where we thought we were landing on our standards of practice. And it allowed us to create a targeted action plan for the year. And we're talking about one thing we could tackle kind of for 1 to 2 months in order to make some movement, meet some benchmarks, and essentially get our number up in that area. So what we did was we gave this to a range of staff, leadership, line staff, peer staff, and we asked people to think about what do they see in their area, and then what do they see on the whole in the organization, and give us some really honest feedback so that we could develop targeted areas. Because even though there's a strong desire and passion, and I know I battle with this a lot, to really just be implementing and embracing this framework in every area of the things that we do in the work and the practice, this takes time, and it takes patience to dive into an area, get buy-in from all the various parties, and then implement that, and then sustaining. So how do we educate and create change in the people that are doing things day to day? So I really like the standards of practice tool. I think it would be a fun exercise if you have time to just think about where you are or where you're doing your independent project and answer some of these questions, because I think it will really help guide at least a number of the proposals that you all submitted. Then the newer tool that you're going to look through, and so you're going to look at the roadmap, and I really encourage you to also download the screening tool. So we can return to the roadmap as like the overarching, right? We have recognition and awareness, and I think a lot of agencies are here. I think a lot of us, especially in Oregon, are here where we recognize and we're aware of the widespread impact of trauma. We know that it's showing up in our staff, in our communities, and with the people that we're serving. But what do we do about it, and how do we get traction? So foundational knowledge, I'm really training Trauma Informed Care 101 is probably one of my favorite things to do. I like introducing this concept to new groups. Last week I actually trained an entire law office, all of their staff, and that was really fascinating to go from law offices to medical, clinical settings, mental health settings, and I think in, I guess about 2 weeks, I'll also be providing some sort of training around trauma-informed care and de-escalation to Oregon Metro Park Rangers. So I really like the diversity, because foundational knowledge is gonna kind of stays the same, the core concepts stay the same, but the relatability and how people see it applicable to the day-to-day work changes, and I really like exercising that part of my brain. So depending on the environment that you are now, or the environment you may be in the future, thinking about how you keep the core foundation of knowledge, but kind of adapt for readiness, and adapt for the type of work that people are doing would be fun to think through. So when you're on that roadmap, like I said, you'll just scroll down and you'll see the trauma informed screening tool. I'm just pulling it up on my computer, so I make sure I guide you the right way. You probably want to download the PDF because it's pretty small, and it gives you some information about kind of how we can capture progress that we're making. What I really like about this is I think that it can be used on a small team basis and extend out in larger teams, or depending on how big the organization is, it might be that one area of the organization doing one thing could be somewhere else on this screening tool than another area of the organization. And that it's not like a race or a competition, it's just an acknowledgement that each group is going to be in a different place and that we're all on this journey together. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then, of course, I hope that you spend the time reading Diane and Mandy's article in there, and Stephanie, that they wrote around implementing trauma-informed care in an organizational framework. One of the things I note in their work there is that we really need to kind of have more information about how does this happen on a practical level. So I know right now I'm trying to figure out a tool that we can use that encompasses the 6 key principles. And what we found is it's not necessarily going to be all of them, but do we take those 6 key principles, pick a few of them, and start to run decisions, policies, ideas through that document. And we're still trying to figure out, is this yes, no, yes, no? Is this yes, no with comments? Is it always with comments? Is it yes, no, maybe? So we're literally in process with this, but it speaks to what they said at the end, which is staff and organizations really need some more information and tools about, like, how did you come to this decision? So let's think of something like, if we're addressing workforce wellness, a lot of you all picked that as your project. And we have a great idea, and we want to implement like a workforce wellness room in our organization, a space where staff could go. We might want to run something through the 6 key principles to just look and see, like, have we considered safety? Is there safety issues for the staff? What safety considerations have we looked at? Do service participants, clients, wherever you are they allowed to use the wellness room? Is this just for staff? What kind of power differential does that create? So it gives us a tool to think through all of these elements, and not that it stops a decision, but that there's a way that we operationalize this by learning through the principles why we might do something that isn't 100% in line and favor for something else. So I would say the staff wellness room very well might be reserved just for staff, even though we acknowledge that taking away space and having non-client space or space just for staff can increase power differentials, can recreate experiences of institutional oppression. The benefit of having the safe space for the staff doesn't outweigh that. That's not even the right word. We just acknowledge that those two things can be true, that we know this is happening here, but we believe that this is important here. So that's what I would encourage you to be thinking about in the article is, yeah, we can have all this framework to operationalize, and then how do we show what it looks like when it's happening? And I think one of the things I love about teaching this course is we have a whole new workforce coming out through taking this class and other classes at PSU that can be thinking creatively about what this looks like. It's really exciting to me. So I also wanted to just bookmark that I do plan to find a time to have probably 2 times where I'll be at a coffee shop, just welcoming, drop in, kind of casual, not required at all, here in Portland, a time to just dialogue about the class content, but specifically about week 6. This is where my practice expertise lies, and where I spend a bulk of my time. So I'm really excited to have you guys read your comments about this, your discussion posts, that first assignment of how is trauma-informed care defined to you. I want to tell you that my definition changes over the months and years, depending on what part of this movement I'm currently focused on? And I ask this question in a lot of my trainings for people. Anyone who's been to a trauma-informed care training or has had some exposure to this framework and theory and approach and concept, I ask them, what would you say? What would you tell someone if they asked you so I often think of family, because they're not as usually as embedded in the system as some of my peers. I say, my family is like, wait, what's trauma-informed care anyway? And how would you explain it to them? Like, what would be your kind of elevator speech for it? And I'm really excited to hear what you guys are saying, because what it'll bring out is the things that you're passionate about and the concepts that have resonated with you the most. And since we already did the kind of SAMHSA definition and other people's definitions, which you saw are really long and varied, I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing what you guys are taking home with this content. What else? I'm really appreciative of all of the work that you guys are doing. I'm really excited about your independent projects. It's been fun to watch those develop, and thanks everybody for following up when I have questions. I'm a super curious person, so it's not uncommon that I have follow-up questions, and that's not because your stuff isn't awesome. It's just because I like to know more. Anyway, keep emails and texts coming if you need anything. Have a great time with week 6. This is really fun for me, where the rubber kind of hits the road and we think about how this looks in the day-to-day and what are the small steps we can take in our organization to bring this stuff to life. Thanks a lot. Bye.